everybody, and welcome to our latest Intelligence Insights brief from At Risk International's Global Risk Intelligence team. I'm Ross Hill, Director of Intelligence, and with me this week I have Roman Fisher from our Protective Intelligence team. Starting you off, a new survey was released last week by WTW and Oxford Analytica on political risk. 93% of the companies surveyed reported a political financial loss last year. That's up from just over a third in 2020, so seeing a reasonably significant increase there. Although a lot of the political financial loss did result from Russia and the war in Ukraine. But Russia and China are accounting for the largest losses, followed by India, Brazil, and the United Kingdom. If you compare that to a few years ago, say 2020, companies were sustaining their largest losses in countries like Iran, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Angola, and Libya. But increasingly over the last few years, losses are coming from countries normally considered somewhat stable. Because of the increasing risk, last year 68% of companies bought political risk insurance. That's up from 25% of companies in 2019. When you start to look at the risk types, there are concerns around a number of different issues: cyber attacks, sanctions, IP theft, arbitrary detention, and actually governments acting directly against companies. And given the geopolitical environment we're currently in, these risks are likely to stay for the foreseeable future. Separately, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute released their yearly report on global military spending. That increased by 3.7% last year. In Europe, we saw the biggest annual increase since the end of the Cold War. And that was mainly due to the war in Ukraine as well. But actually, multiple countries are putting multi-year spending plans in place to increase military spending, and that suggests that there is an expectation of increasing risk in the near term, at least. So the result of kind of all of that is that companies really do need to be increasingly aware of what's going on in your operating environments and the risks involved in that. And obviously, we would say, quality intelligence is key to this. Our next one is on executive behavior. This is something we talk about fairly regularly, but Axios reported last week that there were several messages from business leaders that went viral after they tried to encourage their employees, but the messages weren't well received. At Millennial, employees found out that they wouldn't receive annual bonuses, and then that was followed by CEO Andy Owen holding a virtual meeting which told them to leave Pity City and get back to work. Videos were also shared to social media of Clearlink CEO James Clark basically praising employees for making what some consider extreme personal sacrifices, like selling a family dog in order to return to the office full time. Clark also apparently questioned working parents' productivity and accused employees of quiet quitting or taking on multiple side jobs. Now, these types of kind of CEO behaviors and statements are becoming ever more closely scrutinized by kind of all stakeholders of a business. And they are actually likely to increase things like insider threats. And that could be from either disgruntled employees, or it could actually potentially increase your vulnerability in terms of having employees targeted. And when you're thinking about broader issues such as leaks or theft of IP and other sensitive data. And now I'm going to hand you over to Roman Fisher.
Thank you, Ross. Recent crime data shows that most U.S. cities are less violent today than they were 2 years ago. Using data collected from Datalytics and the Council on Criminal Justice, a recent article in the Homeland Security Newswire shows that violent crime has dropped across many cities. The surge in shootings, murders, and other violence in the last 2 years has been attributed to the societal conditions caused by the pandemic, primarily high unemployment and inflation. New York City has experienced a significant reduction in violent crime so far this year. In 2020 and 2021, the nation's largest city had a 50% increase in homicides. But last year, numbers fell by 11%, and so far this year, homicide rates have fallen by 7%. David Kennedy of the John Jay College of Criminal Justice points out that although the city's murder rate remains above its pre-pandemic level, it is far lower than the early 90s when New York City saw more than 2,200 murders. Consulting firm Datalytics reports a nearly 10% reduction in homicides in more than 70 cities this year. This includes Baltimore, Houston, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. These cities are among several cities that have struggled with violent crime in recent years. The data shows that even Chicago, last year's murder capital, has seen a 17% reductions in homicides so far this year. Although the national violent crime rate has fallen, some cities have seen their numbers go up. According to Datalytics, the number of homicides has risen in 25 cities, and these include Washington, D.C., Memphis, Dallas, Boston, Miami, Kansas City, and others. Richard Rosenfeld, professor of criminology at the University of Missouri, claims that it's difficult to pinpoint why crimes fall in one city but not another. Although most U.S. cities still have higher homicide rates than those before the pandemic, most experts expect that the national crime rates in most cities will likely resume the pre-pandemic decades-long downtrend of violent crime. And that's what we have for you this week. We do appreciate you spending a little time with us. We hope you found the information valuable, and we'll hope to see you again soon.